Hello and welcome to the No Balls Podcast. I'm your host, Patrick McDonald, with me co-host Sheldon Kaufman. Today is a kind of a dual recap. We're going to be talking about what went wrong for teams who have been eliminated. We're going to recap some exciting games that have happened, and if we have any other playoff notes, we're going to get those today. Before we get started, Sheldon has a trivia question today. What do we have for us today, Sheldon?
All right, Pat, we're throwing it back to a little bit more of your time. Back in 1993, the Dallas Mavericks had the Triple J's. Who are these three players?
Okay, wait. Jason Kidd.
Okay.
Oh God, oh fuck. So
These were
Jason Kidd was one of them.
three consecutive top five picks. Also, these
Yeah.
guys were three consecutive top.
Um. No, it wasn't Jay Williams. One of them was one of them a last name. Shit.
Yes, but the last name was also the first name was also a J.
Okay. As we're getting this SoFi ad, shout out to the NBA. I think one of them had the last name Jackson.
Okay.
Is that true?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Is it Jay Jackson or wait?
Are you saying J is the first name or
Okay,
J is the first one?
Jason Richardson was another one. I'm so cooked. I don't know. I don't know.
All right. All right, I'll give you 1.5 on that one. It was
On the
Jackson,
Jim Jackson.
Jamal Mashburn, and Jason Kidd.
Yeah. Okay.
That was good though. One out of three or 1 point. That's not bad.
Yeah. I would say that it is a below average performance. All right. So last episode we left off talking about potential playoff matchups. We now have finalized all but 2 spots in the entire NBA playoffs. This game that's playing in front of you is pretty key to decide that. It clinched the Clippers in to be the 4 seed, or the 5 seed, I don't know. And they're facing the Nuggets. The Timberwolves are facing the Lakers in the first round, and the Warriors have since won a play-in game to secure the 2 seed against Houston. Um, Basically, I mean, do you want to talk about this game at all that's currently playing before we get into some of the other things that have happened since then?
I mean, sure. It really helped solidify like my beliefs in the Clippers as a real playoff team. And that's because James Harden and Ivica Zubac have the best pick and roll game probably in the NBA. It used to be Jokic and Murray, but now I think it's Harden and Zubac. The way that they're able to run their offense with Harden getting the pick and roll and either driving to the basket or dishing it out to one of their corner three mans to hit it, whether it be Powell or like Derrick Jones Jr. It's been really impressive, and their defense is really good this year as well. And Kawhi has looked like really good recently, like vintage Kawhi, as you see there with the fadeaway jumper. This Clippers team is looking really good. Their defense is locked down. Chris Dunn is another really good on-ball defender they have, and he doesn't even score on offense really. He's just mainly there for defense. Really good player though. Yeah, I really like this Clippers team a lot. And also the Warriors are really good. As you see them play really good defense. Jimmy Butler has been probably one of this, not when it happened, but looking back on it now, is probably one of the biggest deadline acquisitions, except for Luka Doncic, of course. But it has really transformed this Warriors team.
Yeah. I mean, even when Curry's on the bench, you see the Warriors like actually managing to score consistently, and that's something that like even going into the year we were kind of concerned about that. Defensively, they're just so active. I would call the Warriors, because they have to be, because they're typically either undersized, or when they have a center out there, it's Quentin Post, and like he's not like this all-time great defensive player. And they're super active, and when Jimmy and oh my god, that pod shot was crazy. Like he hit that thing from a squat basically. Um, when Jimmy,
He's been
Draymond, and
making
Steph are,
crazy. He's been
yeah, he has been.
sorry.
Yeah,
There's a little bit
you're
of
good.
delay.
You're good. You're good. Um, when Jimmy, Dre, and Steph are all out there, like it's like there's 3 computers working at the same time. It feels like they all know where each other is going to be, and it just looks like perfect basketball. And on the Clipper side of things, I think Chris Dunn started the game 3 for 3 from 3, and like tough draw for the Warriors right there,
Yeah.
But outside of that, like the Clippers are very they're very not efficient, but they're very tactical at running an inefficient offense. I think they finished the year like 17th in offensive rating. I don't necessarily think they have a terrible offense, and one that I think is going to maybe step back in the playoffs, just because I think they set such a high floor with James Harden, Kawhi Leonard being able to create difficult shots. They're so advanced in the switch hunting. I think the Lakers share some of this. Like against the Warriors, they know they're not gonna give you the Steph Curry switch, right? So then they attack Gary Payton Jr. or Gary Payton II with Kawhi Leonard, because they know you'll probably they will probably give that switch, and that gives Kawhi a huge size advantage. So I would say that the Clippers, I'm very, what do we have to say about them in a potential Nugget series?
I honestly I like the chances. I feel pretty good about this going into it. Um I think their defense is really good. And like you said, this isn't the best offense, but the Nuggets is not a really good defense. And I think the Clippers can do enough to score against a not great Nuggets defense. And while we know what they can do on the offensive ball, they are going up against the Clippers, who are did you already say what their defensive their
It's top
defensive
5.
it's top 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, third in the league. And their offense is 14th, so not that far outside of the top 10
Wow.
rating.
A little bit higher than I
Um
thought.
so I think this Clippers team is honestly being slept on a little bit. But yeah, I do like and I think that you have James Harden, you have Kawhi Leonard. These are guys that have been on. One of them has been on a championship team, and the other one has been in multiple playoff series. Actually, James Harden has been to the playoffs every single year of his career. So you have Derrick Jones Jr., who's been on playoff teams last year. Norman Powell has been on a championship team. This is a roster that's experienced. They know what they have to do to win in the playoffs. And honestly, I think that they just match up well against the Nuggets. I mean, it's going to be really hard to stop Jokic, but Zubac is a good start, a good step in the right direction. And even if you have to double him with Kawhi or something, they have the guys that can double, I think. So we'll see how it ends up. I think it's going to be a really good series, Pat. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of good series this playoffs, especially in the West.
Yeah, with them too, like Tyronn Lue's an NBA championship
Yes.
experienced coach.
Yeah.
And like his playoff game planning, like he was like the first coach to really crack the Gobert Jazz, and like kind of make it like, hey, like you kind of can't defend really, um that being for the Jazz in general. And then I feel like no matter what, I think Harden and Kawhi will provide a pretty good floor for this offense. I think if Denver was going to struggle with a team defensively, I don't necessarily know that the Clippers were necessarily going to give them a ton of problems, compared to like Golden State or even Memphis. Like they're a little bit more complicated offenses than the Clippers. I think their offense is really simplistic, but it works because of their personnel that I think is pretty good. So like you think, I think there's a good opportunity that the Clippers could win a playoff series against Denver. Um, I think this goes in, right? No, okay. It's a crazy shot if that
Dang,
goes.
wait, the OT ended pretty quick there.
Yeah, they started at the 3 minute mark. So,
Oh, damn.
so um, there's that. And then as far as otherwise in a Clippers series or a Clippers Nuggets series, I would think defensively, I think that they could throw enough at Denver. There we go. That's the team. To where they could at least be, survive enough. And I think their offense won't end up being horrible. And Denver is definitely the team that could shave some points off, especially with not having a coach. I think that's big for them not having a coach. So I think I still might pick the Nuggets just because I think they by far have the best player, and I don't think the depth is too bad on Denver. It's just they currently don't have a head coach who at least has been there for the entire season as the head coach. Um, so I do think it's a very possible win for the Los Angeles Clippers. This Memphis Golden State series or game, singular game. Do we want to talk about this game?
Yeah, let's talk about it. The in the beginning it was really close, right? Uh, big shot spike. I mean, Curry was amazing in the game. Curry and Butler were both amazing in the game. Let me pull up the box score here. Yeah, 38 from Butler, 37 from Curry. These two are looking really, really good together. But the the Warriors went up big in the first half, and it was looking like it was about to be a little bit of a blowout, even leading to the third quarter a little bit. But the Warriors really started to battle, or not the Warriors, the Grizzlies really started to battle back. Uh, Zach Edey looked pretty good, looked really good in his first playoff game. That's what I noticed. He did have the little blunder in the third quarter at the end, but things happen. Where he got blocked by Gary Payton at the free throw line. But he had 14 and 17 off of some decent shooting. Got to the free throw line a lot. But I mean, I think the big what it came down to really at the end of the game, what you'll see here is they didn't. I think coaching really hurt the Grizzlies, because as you saw, they were down 3 with 5 seconds left, and they couldn't even get the ball in. Pat, a 5 second violation to end the game. Really, really sucked to see, but it kind of like put like the Grizzlies looked good in this game. I feel like at some points, and it kind of made me feel like if you can compete with the Warriors, maybe you can do something against the Mavs. It's going to be really hard to beat the Thunder. But I think that they maybe could make it a competitive series, especially the way John Morant was playing. Uh, yeah, he had 22. He was shooting three a little bit, but Jaren Jackson Jr. played well. Desmond Bain really played well. 30 points. So yeah, if John Morant picks it up a little bit more, I think it'll be really good, especially from the 3 point line. If he can start hitting his threes, this team will be a lot more dangerous. But I think they'll take care of things in the playing game. I do think we'll see Memphis in the playoffs. Whether I don't know, I just don't see them really doing anything against the Thunder. Maybe they win 2 games, maybe one. But yeah, it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. Big thing for them too in this game. John Morant missed like 12 minutes. Like, I don't know if he would have played all 12 of those minutes, but he did miss a little bit of time with an ankle injury. And, he was looking like a real difference maker. He comes back, and honestly, after like the finishing, and like, did you see this play? Like, Jesus.
How do you like come up with that? Like that you're gonna do that mid play? Like that's
Like,
insane. Like
ridiculous
mid
improvising.
like that's
Um,
crazy.
but yeah, after he came back for a little bit, he did look fine. And he was moving good. I think a big key for this game is like just how and it popped up a little bit in the Clipper game, but like Moody and Pajemski and Gary Payton and like Guy Santos played a little bit of a role in it too. Like just I feel like they end up targeting and successfully hitting the ball so often on the defensive side of the floor, and I think their defense is going to be key for them in the playoffs. As there's that play, I don't remember that play happening. Um, time to put a marker again. Anyway, like you said with Memphis, like I think they're definitely getting beat by OKC if they are to make it out. I don't see an avenue to them winning that series. I think the bigger takeaways from this series for me is more with Golden State, where like, hey, like y'all, attacked Edie relentlessly when y'all were on defense, or when y'all were on offense, y'all attacked Edie relentlessly. Um, Quentin Post I think hit like 4 or 5 threes in this game, right? They were just going at Edie, and I think a
Sorry,
big
yeah.
part of yeah, and just looking forward to a future Golden State Rockets series, it's like, hey, if y'all struggled to handle Jaren Jackson and Zach Edey, like, what's Steven Adams, Jabari Smith, and Alperen Sengun gonna look like? Like, I'm not sure. And I think, as much as I do think the Warriors are probably the better team against most other teams in the NBA, like, I do think that the Rockets will probably like still win that series, just like I said in our previous episode, where I just don't think it's a good matchup for Golden State. And unfortunately with them, with how much time they have, given how old their players are, like I think it needs to be a next year thing for them after they solidify the roster a little bit, and I think they'll add 100%. We'll talk about it if they are to get eliminated quick. Um, yeah, I mean, what do you think about the Rockets and or the Warriors in a potential Houston Rockets series?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good series. Um, I think Curry's gonna have some really big games, and so are Butler, especially at home. But I just think that the Rockets team is so deep, and like you said, they have like those like really big athletic wings. While Draymond is really good defender. They and he usually does good against like at least one of those guys. But when you have like literally like two or three out there with Sengun, I guess Sengun isn't really an athletic wing, but he's a big guy. But they have Jabari Smith, Tari Eason. Um, they have Jabari Smith, Tari Eason, guys like that. And I think it's gonna come down to a really close game or a close series, like Game 6, Game 7 type of vibes. Because I do think the Warriors do have a legitimate chance in this series, just because just Butler, Green, and Curry have looked so good, as you see in that play right there, that sequence, with the little handoff scoop to Curry as he runs to the three with the fadeaway after Butler dribble penetrates. It's beautiful basketball, and that's what
Like,
the Warriors play, and they coach so well. That's why it's really hard to pick the Rockets because they're so young. But I don't want to put that on them. And Ime Udoka is a great coach, so it's like this is just such a good series. I do think the Rockets will end up sneaking through, uh, for all the reasons you mentioned, just because they're bigger down low. But I mean, this is going to be a really fun series because the, I mean, every Warriors game that you see on TV, Curry always like goes crazy. If he's prime time, he's gonna give you a show. So you better turn on your TV.
I just want to break down this play a little bit too, right? Because they run a Jimmy Steph pick and roll, and Steph flares out. So obviously the help's coming from Draymond, and like Zach Edey's not making this recovery.
No,
Steph Curry should never be this open, but like it's just such well drawn up, and like this is unlocked by like two shooters being on this side of the floor with Moody and Pajemski.
look
Like
at Ja's face. If you went back to that frame, his face, he knew it. He was like, "You
Yep.
see that? Did you
Yep.
see the little headset? He knew
He's
that.
like,
He knew it
oh
was
my
coming."
god. He's like, we just got diced up. Yeah, I mean, we'll try to break down anything that we see. So just if you see something that you want to talk about, just let me know. But oh my
Yeah,
god. But like, I think that everything that you just said, like, if they're gonna struggle handling size like that with Edie, like it's gonna be pretty hard for them to handle, guarding Steven Adams, just fighting for rebound position 20 minutes a game. It's gonna be tough for them. I do think that their offense is gonna be huge for them. I think it's gonna give them a legitimate step up in a Rocket series. And like, if we want to talk about how the Rockets are gonna match up, like, I'm I'm concerned about how much they're gonna be able to score. Really, I think their defense is gonna be fine. There will be a couple like young team miscommunications, but like, I'm really kind of concerned about how they're gonna score. If you right for me, like, I think you can almost neutralize any action by just putting like Draymond Green on Alperen Şengün and then just switch everything. What's Jalen Green gonna do, right? Like, I'm concerned about that. I think there's a good chance not getting played off because they're still gonna need him, but Jalen Green could get played off the floor a little bit if he's not making it work defensively, even though he has been better defensively. And we need to just talk about this play because it was the
I was
talking
just
point.
like confused. Like I felt like no one really was coming to the ball until like literally the last second. Like if you look at it, and then like I think Bane maybe been the option, but he was like so far. Like I just didn't know who was gonna come get the ball, and then Ja like came at the last second. It was so. Just go ahead. Let's see.
So the play here is to like get Bane the ball on a skip pass in the corner, because what it looks like here is Ja is coming around these like, I
Double
guess,
screen.
yeah, yeah, you would just call them doubles. What the Warriors are doing is they're just passing this off. So watch what Butler and Peyton do. They pass it off, and
Mm-hmm.
Butler now has Bane. Um, if on this play, Looney is getting whoever. So on this play, like, once Jaw's out of here, Looney's getting whoever like goes higher, and Butler's getting whoever wherever the other person goes. Um, and like, it's almost like on a football play where like they're just keeping leverage wherever guys are going, right? Like on this play, John Morant has no path to the ball because Gary Payton was already closer to the ball than he was. So I think what could have ended up happening is they could have just broken the play, and in this situation, if Bane just goes out here and catches the ball and saying forget this play, because the play originally is him supposed to be flaring out here
Yeah.
to get an open 3-point attempt, because you would think the ball's going to Jaw.
Uh huh. Yeah. See, that's what I was saying. Like Bane was running out, but they covered it so well. Like, look, if you pass it, Butler's right there to intercept it.
Yeah,
And
like,
then who do you pass it to at that point? Like it's so covered.
and like, they know the Warriors obviously knew what the play was here, because switching everything is 100% the way to stop this type of a thing. And like, they need a three too, as another part of it. So
Yeah. So are you gonna go to John Morant who shot three threes all game, or are you gonna go to the guy who has 30 and just like pulled? Yeah. So I think that maybe probably they should have had a second option for sure because they should have figured that the Warriors were gonna plan for Desmond Bane getting the ball because he's the best 3 point shooter on the team except for Luke Kennard. I think Kennard might be better 3 point percentage wise. Um, but yeah, I think maybe an option where Luke Kennard maybe could have got the ball if that would have been a good look because
I
Kennard.
got one too. Yeah, I got one for it too.
Yeah.
So at the start of the play,
Okay.
they all start here. I think it's fine that they start here, right? Perfectly
Hmm.
good. Kennard goes over to this corner, and then he's just kind of like a decoy, like, or just like,
Yeah.
please bring Moses Moody over there type of thing. And what ends up happening is Ja now has this type of a leverage on Bane, and we can even go from like when the ball's inbounded. See how much time we have. So, okay, this is already like a second in. Um, I think once Ja gets the ball, there's like 6 seconds. So 1, 2. So he spends like 2.5 seconds doing that, like just trying to get the ball. Like if Ja Morant gets the ball there, I don't even think your
He can't
season's
even
probably
turn
over.
around.
Yeah, like he has enough time to, but like what are we doing? I think the best play is to have Ja continue to run, and then since he's already on this side of Peyton,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Kennard just has to run Moody into these
yeah.
guys, and then Kennard will be open, just peeling up this way,
Okay,
especially if Jackson and Bane aren't going to move to this side of the floor.
okay. Go back a little bit and start it. I want to see how much time you would have had to like run over to the spot. So we got 1, 2, 3. Pause it. 4. See, but they're at 4 seconds by the time like Ja was at when Ja
Yeah,
got that leverage on Peyton.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I think
Okay. No, I get what you're saying. If he
if
didn't
he
like
just
go
goes
to the
right there,
ball, if he immediately sprints to Moody.
yeah, because
Okay,
then
yeah.
what you hope happens there
Like right.
is
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Ja runs there, and like let's say they try to switch it, but Ja has basically a screen on Peyton, and then Kennard gets the ball for a 3-point attempt. Or um they don't try to switch, or they do try. Wait, they don't try to switch it, and Moody just has to like chase around John Morant and Gary Payton, basically like just hugging each other right in the middle of the 3-point line. Or let's say they do try to switch and they successfully do it, and you can't get the pass to Kennard. Well, Ja will then be closer to the ball than Moses Moody, so you can get the ball into Ja at that point. Uh, I think this was just so it was just one option, and then like the secondary option was what you thought was like the decoy that the opponent thought the play should have been. I think maybe this decoy works a little bit better if it's not John Morant running. Like
Yeah.
if
Because
this
like.
is like let's say that's Kennard running, or like Bane for instance, and then this is Kennard
Mhm,
on this flare and
yeah.
Aldama's in the corner and Jaw's the one passing the ball. Like I feel like that is a better alternative. It's just I don't think Jaw was a good decoy here. Like use him to pass the rock in that situation. Um, so just weird execution by the Grizzlies. I mean, I don't think it's a bad play. Like that play has worked for them before in the season. It's just such a long pass too. That like if Jimmy Butler doesn't leave Desmond Bane wide open, I don't think that play gets executed. So that's our breakdown. um, we had playing games, I believe. Uh, we can talk about those. Um, which do you want to start with any of them specifically?
Wait, are we talking about the ones that are happening today? The ones
Yeah,
that
we can
have
start
happened.
with those.
It doesn't matter. I just didn't know what you meant.
Let's start with the ones that already happened. Let's start with
Yeah, let's do
Orlando.
Heat. Oh, okay. Yeah, Magic Hawks.
Yeah, let's start with Magic versus Hawks. Um,
Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa,
so what ends up happening is Orlando wins this game. Barrage from Anthony Black and Cole Anthony. Um, I think they combined for over 45 points. Uh, Trae Young gets ejected in the middle of the game. I've seen a lot of discourse about Trae needing to get out of there now, and like I kind of get it, and I also kind of don't. I think if they have um, Jalen Johnson, I think we're talking about this Hawks team a lot differently. Um,
Six
I
seed.
yeah, I think there may be a succeed. Like I don't like if you compare them to like Detroit, like they have a much better second option than than, than Detroit does, and like Atlanta has some of the defensive help that Detroit does, and like, I see them very similar to a Detroit team if they have their second best player. Like Corey Joseph started this playing game for the Orlando. Like, what is going on? I think we briefly mentioned him in the off-season recap episode. We were like, oh yeah, they got Corey Joseph too. So if stuff goes very awry, they can put Corey Joseph in the game. Like, and that's ultimately what ended up happening. They spent half of the year still starting Clint Capella. And we're kind of talking about the what's next part of this too, because like, the writing's on the wall. Even if they make it out the play-in, like they're losing to the Cavs or the Celtics or the Cavs. It will be the Cavs. They spent half the year starting Clint Capella, right? And then don't move him at the deadline with his $20 million expiring, where I talked about it. They could have given up very little in their rotation and gotten Bradley Beal. It would have helped this team. They could have done it. And then they don't trade Capella, and then it takes them a while to start Okongwu, and it's super weird. They got Dyson Daniels winning. He's going to get an all-defensive first-team appearance this season.
Mm-hmm.
And I think on the season they had a pretty poor defense in general. Like, I don't know. I think if Jalen Johnson is not hurt, are we talking about this very differently? Yes, of course, but I don't think the writing's on the wall for Trae Young, because I'm not really sure. Like, maybe Orlando, sneakily enough, is the team that would really make a push for Trae Young. But yeah, I'll let you get the floor on them. Just for context, 19th in defense this season. So, what do you have on Orlando or Atlanta?
Yeah, I mean, just a disappointing end to the season. Things were looking really promising before Jalen Johnson got hurt. I think Jalen Johnson was looking like an all-star um, player. We were talking about him as being an all-star player, and then he ended up getting hurt. And then the Hawks season just kind of took a tailspin from there. They were like around the fifth and sixth seed in the East all year, and then after that, it just fell off. You have Georges Niang guarding Paulo Banchero in the first quarter. So yeah, that's season's not looking too good when that's happening. But I mean, they do have pieces. Like they do have Karis LeVert still. I think this team is. I mean, Jalen Johnson away from a 5 seed and a 4 seed. I mean, honestly, especially with how good Trae Young is. I mean, it's just very unfortunate what happened. And like you said, there's a lot of things about Trae Young moving. I've seen Trae Young to Orlando talks as well, or not really talks, but just kind of rumors, which would be really cool to see. But yeah, I just don't. This it was just disappointing. It's like why? How do you not trade Clint Capella? That make no sense. And then right after you don't trade him, you immediately just start Okongwu, who is looking like this franchise center right now. I think Okongwu's really good. They're going to be drafting 12th or 14th in the draft with Sacramento's pick in the first round. So there's opportunity to get a really good. This is a really stacked draft class, Pat. You can get a really nice role player for your team around that 14th and around the middle of the round in the first round, I think. So I think the Hawks are in a pretty decent position right now. But yeah, the season just became a lost season when Jalen Johnson got hurt. But I mean, their defense is going to look really good though next year because, like you said, they have Dyson Daniels, and even though they have Trae Young, like that's just such a perfect player to get for them. And Jalen Johnson's a pretty good defender too. So along with Ricochet and his link. So this team it has a very bright future. It's really disappointing to see what happens, and I think they'll keep Trae Young. I think they'll for sure keep Trae Young.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I don't think their team is that bad. Like, I've seen a lot of people being like, hey, like, Trae Young is like always having to do a lot with nothing, and like I can somewhat agree with that because this team was like, kind of, injury wise, it was cut from talent. They were missing a lot, but Reese say like we didn't even talk about him. He's the number 1 overall pick last season. He's been great to end the season, and I feel like we were one of the only like platforms that really believed in Zachary Richardson and like actually like saw the type of player that he's already looked like so far this year as he gets just swatted. But like he was really impressive this year, and I think he's the type of player that you need to be your fourth best player on a really good team. Um, as we talk about that though, how do we feel about Trae Young in that type of a conversation, right? Because you know, obviously we're not going to talk about him losing a handle randomly. Like we know Trae Young will hold on to the ball a lot, but how do we feel about like do we really think Trae Young is your best player on a championship team? And if not, who is the player that you put next to Trae to where Trae's the second guy?
I think I can see him being a first team. I can see him being the first option on a championship team for sure. I think his his playmaking and his ability to shoot the ball makes him that kind of guy. He makes him that kind of Steph Curry closeout guy. Like when you need a guy to close out games with big threes with impossible shots, Trae Young's that guy. We've seen him take over playoff series. We've seen him take off playoff games. Typically in not typically, but especially in New York with some of those series. Sorry, Pat, but had to bring it up real quick. But I don't know. I like Trae Young as the number one piece for a team. Um, yeah, I don't know. Did you have anyone specific in mind that could maybe pair with them?
Um, I was more or less just gonna talk about like I've always thought about Trae Young as like he might be the best offensive player, but I don't think he would be the best overall player on a team that could win a championship because you know he's such a great passer and like like the pick and roll passer in the league. I'm like he operates in so many pick and rolls and he's just a master in them. I'm not so sure like his offense is like at that tier 1 level um anymore. Like it definitely was a couple years ago, but since then the way that smaller players have been officiated has really changed, and it's really affected Trae Young's ability to get all the way to the rim and finish efficiently at the rim, and just in general create a lot of good shots for himself. I have no question about his ability to create for teammates. Like maybe just an actualized version of Jalen Johnson could be the answer. Um, let's say Jalen Johnson takes that leap defensively and becomes like a legit all defensive player, not just a very good defensive player. Uh, and then like even takes a step forward as a shooter. Then I think Jalen Johnson might be their best player, but Trae Young still probably is the better offensive player. So I would say that, and like I don't. Are we really saying this Hawks roster is terrible? Right? Like Karis LeVert's a very good NBA player. Like Terrence Mann's been on a ton of playoff teams. Okongwu and Capella like is fine as a center rotation. It's fine, and they had even still now they had Daniels and Richardson. Like if they didn't trade DeAndre Hunter for, I mean I guess LeVert was the piece in that deal. So
Am I
um
muted?
yeah, you were muted for a second there.
Oh, I was saying beat Krejcik.
And Pete Krejcik has actually surprised me this year. Like, I'm not really so convinced that this is a horrible supporting cast. Like we've said, like the Jalen Johnson piece away thing, but like is Cade Cunningham dealing with a worse supporting cast than this? I don't really think
Maybe.
so. Like probably a little bit, but like I really don't think so.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so and we can, I mean, well, do you want to talk about Orlando in a Boston series? So I feel like we've talked about Atlanta for 10 minutes now.
Yeah, I've been seeing like a lot of like uh things about like the Magic like match up well against Boston. I don't know what kind of propaganda my Instagram's trying to feed me right now. Yeah, so obviously great win for the Magic. A couple blaring things where their two best players on the court looked like Anthony Black and Cole Anthony last night. I mean, Franz and Paolo ended up having like 20, 19-point games, but they weren't really in the game offensive wise. I think they match up pretty well defensively against the. I mean, their defense is really good. I just don't think they'll be able to make shots. I think their lack of being able to shoot the three ball is going to really hurt them in this series. With the Celtics being the 3-point shooting team in this playoffs, uh, yeah, I think they'll be able to hold them defensively for some stretches, but I can see this being a 4-0 sweep, um, maybe
Yeah.
even 5-4 run.
So the Magic are so weird because you can't look at any of their numbers for the season and give an accurate description of the team that we're seeing in the playoffs because they started the year amazing, right? Um, and then Franz and Paolo both go down and they're still pretty good because their defense is just ridiculous, but like they're not scoring ever and all that. And then Paolo and then at some point Jalen Suggs goes down, and then eventually Paolo, Suggs, and Franz all come back around the same time, and then they're just not very good. Um, and then eventually Jalen Suggs goes down, and Mo Wagner went down at some point throughout the season. Um, I think that was a big turning point for their defense. They haven't been able to rely on Goga Batadze as much. And I just don't really know how I would assess them because overall in the year, they have they have the second best defense in the league, but they also have the 27th best offense. And I really don't know how it evens out when you adjust for their team. If we want to look at their current starting lineup, just to start with, Corey Joseph, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and KCP on the floor, which is basically what their starting lineup has been. Um, oh wait, I got to throw Wendell Carter Jr. in there as well, which is basically what their starting lineup has been over this past little bit. They've been a +6 with a 107 defensive rating and a 114 offensive rating. So like an average offense and an insane defense. I don't think that's enough to beat Boston, but like what you're saying, like I think this could be a very, or what you're seeing at least is saying like this could be a tough series for Boston. I'm just a little bit less convinced. Like if they have Jalen Suggs, like I could actually see this being like kind of a nightmare series for Boston because it's
Yeah,
and
because they'd be able to score.
yeah, like I feel like Jalen Suggs is a lot closer to their best player than people realize. And maybe that's both an indictment on their top two guys and a praise for Jalen Suggs. Like Jalen Suggs is a top 50 player in the league. Just get it out there. I haven't made a list again, but Jalen Suggs probably is. Um, so I just if they were more healthy, I could see it with Orlando, but I don't think I could see it happening. Um, yeah, I mean, what do you have anything else on like an Orlando Boston series? But like their talent's good, right? But like I could easily see like Paolo and uh, Paolo and Franz Wagner just like going up against like a good Celtics defense and just being like super lost out there.
Yeah,
Like
for sure.
having no idea what they're seeing or um like they I'm really concerned. Like they did play in the playoffs last year against the Cavs. Um but I feel like this is the first time they faced like a really great team and you typically see some growing pains with that. And I they're good players, but I'm not sure how I would expect them to handle that. If they do handle it really well and look how they have looked when they've been at their best this season, then it is probably a hell series for Boston. But they have not looked like that consistently in the regular season, and I'm really not sure if I expect them to look like that in the playoffs. So Boston there. I mean, if you do want to throw some concern on it, like Jaylen Brown might miss some time in the first round. He's dealing with a knee ailment. That being said, I think if Derek White and Jason Tatum play, I think the Celtics win. I think they'll win the series. So, you ready to move forward to another team?
Yeah, let's move on.
So, this Bulls versus Heat game, it did happen. I mean, where do we want to start with this one?
Yeah, I think just really disappointing season again for the Bulls. I mean, you go in there and you weren't even. I think the closest point in the game was when Metellus Bazzelli hit that 3-pointer at the end of the first quarter. And then after that, it was just a Tyler Hero clinic. Really, I think he even miss a shot in the first half. I don't think he did.
No.
He had 23 points. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but Miami is just so gritty this season. It's hard to count them out in these playing games, I think. Uh, Now against the Cavs. Wait, who do they play? They're playing the Cavs. If they win,
if they win against Atlanta, they would
they
face
play
the
the
Cavs.
they face the Cavs. Yeah. So. Oh wait. So why were we? Oh wait. Okay. So they play the Cavs. Okay. My bad. I'm tripping. Yeah. Will they be able to beat the Cavs? No. But will they be able to cover some spreads against the Cavs? Yeah, probably. Especially if they're pretty high. I think this Heat team is really gritty. Tyler Hero put on a clinic. Shot really well. Andrew Wiggins shot well, as you see there. Bam Adebayo played pretty good. Yeah, and the Bulls weren't really able to get anything going. And the Heat just took away the game. I mean, the Heat couldn't miss.
Mm-hmm.
They looked really good.
Yeah, and for me, the big thing on the defensive side of the floor for Miami, maybe this is more about Chicago. Pre-game, Udonis Haslem's on there. I'm like, okay, like he's gonna pick the Heat, but like I would at least hear what he says, and he says something like really like kind of crazy. He says, "Yeah, they're gonna put Wiggins, they're gonna put Wigs on Giddy, and they're gonna put Bam on Vucevic, and they're just gonna switch everything, and then it's gonna neutralize things." And that's not exactly what they did. They put Bam on Giddy and Kalel Ware on Vooch, and they did switch everything. And they went under on every Josh Giddey screen, and they played off him when he was in the corner, and it did neutralize everything. And the Bulls just couldn't get offense in the first half. Like it was really rough. A lot of the time they go through stretches in the regular season where their scoring ability is very just predicated on them shooting a ton of threes, and eventually some of them go in. But that didn't happen very frequently in this game, and I think just still treating Josh Giddey like he's Josh Giddey was what really did it at the end for the Bulls. Like they kind of were like, okay, yeah, he shot 44% from three for like a month, and then he were like, yeah, we don't care. And they didn't know how to operate from that point on. What's next for Chicago, do we think? I mean, if we want to sum this up, Heat won, Bulls lost. Come join us next year when the Heat beat the Bulls in the play-in again. But like Chicago, let's not aim for the play-in again. Like respectfully, and we'll talk about another team with the play-in, with their propensity for the play-in. But like
They're
I
what?
just there, I'm
What was
talking
that
about
word, Pat? That's a good pull right there. That was a good
I'm talking.
word.
I'm talking about DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine with their play and experience. Like I do think they need to shoot a little bit higher. And I'm not talking about percentage wise. I'm saying with their goals, in the front office side of things, like this Bulls roster just isn't very good. We can be upfront about it. I think it hopefully is the start of some type of a rebuild. I can't remember. They have a weird situation with their pick. They might get it. I'm sure you had it pulled up, correct?
The Bulls have the 13th pick right now.
Okay, and they do have rights to it. Yeah. Oh,
Yes, I
they got full
see.
rights to it in the
Yeah.
Levine trade.
Okay.
So yeah, they get their pick. Yeah, go ahead. Like you said, they can get a solid role player in this draft, just like that. I think they did in last draft. I think there's enough there for Modest to be a good role player. Um, how do we feel about really anything else with Chicago?
Um. Yeah, I think like you said, they're kind of in like a purgatory right now, where they're in that they're just always aiming for that play in. Um. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe either. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Like just looking at this team, it's like you said, they don't really have a great roster. Like it's a lot of like, yeah, those guys are pretty good role players. Like I feel like maybe like Colby White and Josh Giddey are the exception, but you know, I don't know. I think the Bulls are in a rough spot, like they have been for the past like 10 years.
Yeah,
um,
I want to go back to a play here. Like this play right here, like not this one, but there's a play here in a second that like for me like Josh Giddey is an NBA player, right? Um,
yes, I think so.
this play right here, like this is a good way to utilize these guys. Like I think Kobe White's a great player, but his movement shooting is something that's really impressed me. Like he's gotten so good as a movement shooter because he wasn't really supposed to be that coming into the league, and now like he's making stuff like this where like I just don't think a rookie Kobe White has anything to do with that. And in that type of situation, like you kind of neutralize the fact that Giddy's going to get played off by just giving him the ball and using him as a screener. And I think that's something that they could potentially tap into to uh, going forward. Um, it's just like the thing is like that was the role he played in Oklahoma City, and like he didn't feel like that was necessarily the right role for him in OKC. Like you think he's talked about it since then. Um, so I don't know. I think I am only saying this because I see Bulls fans talking about it all the time. Like they're very out on Billy Donovan, and maybe they get Taylor Jenkins or Michael Malone. And hey, I would actually like to see what Michael Malone looks like here. You know, I'm sure they
Dude
could.
would be the next Jokic. He could probably tap into some of that.
Yeah, he could figure something out. I think this year they were like bottom 10 offense and defense, but like it's the Eastern Conference, so of course they're gonna make the play-in game. Um, yeah, they were 20th in offense and 18th in defense. Um, just not quite a great roster. Do we want to talk about Miami?
Yeah, I think the future isn't too bad there. I think Tyler Hero and Bam are good like kind of 1-2 punch. They're definitely gonna need a third option that maybe is a little bit better than Andrew Wiggins. Kawhi Leonard looks good though. He's been looking good as a rookie. Um, let's see. And they have the 11th pick. It looks like so, and they have 2 first-round picks next year. With they have Oklahoma or Golden State's pick. So yeah, I think Miami's in a pretty good spot. And I think Tyler Hero is going to be made his first All Star appearance this year. We're going to see a lot more of that in the future.
Hero's improved a good bit. And just evening out his all-around game as we see a pick 6 right here. I think for me the big thing is like, and this is why I kind of like Miami. Like I hope Miami wins in the play-in, just because I do think they have more good players than Atlanta does currently. I think they're a big piece away. Like, hey, if Trae Young goes to Miami, like I think I really like Miami here. Um, but like Duncan Robinson has started hitting shots again. And there's like a year span where it was like, what the hell? Like you're a 35% shooter. Like we can't have that. But Wiggins is still an effective like off the catch driver, and can get to the rim pretty easily. And just the stuff they could do defensively with Ware and Bam is exactly like what we talked about the entire like off season after they got Khalil Ware. We were like, they're gonna play double big, and Bam shot 36% this year from three. Like huge development in my opinion, and like this wasn't gonna be the year, but Tyler Hero's like 25. Bam Adebayo might be 26 or 27. Khalil Ware was obviously a rookie. Like, I think Miami's still in like kind of a great spot to just rebound really well from losing Jimmy Butler because like he was sneakily like not in line with the ages of the rest of this roster, and like I don't think we quite pointed it out ever that was the case. The future of this team's still really good. I think Miami will be back next year, potentially as a plan, depending on how this offseason goes. Do we have anything to say about them and a potential Cavs playoff series?
Like I said, I think they'll keep games close, but I really like this Cavs team.
If any team is going to test the Allen and Mobley pairing, it's going to be this team with Ware and Bam. Like with Spoelstra at the head of things, like this is going to be the team to do it. I don't. Hey, do I know for sure that they're going to do anything good? They might not score very often in the playoffs, just because like it's kind of Tyler Hero nothing. We think it's an inevitable first round loss, or they might not even get there, and it might be the Hawks playing the Cavs in the first round. But that pretty much sums up my feelings about Miami. What do you have to say? Do you want to move forward to one of the other West series or plans? I guess there's only one. Mavs. There we go. All right. So Kings Mavs happens. I think the whole. I don't know how many people really cared about this. You and I talked about it. I was like, I don't know. The Mavs might be a little bit closer to the Grizzlies than people like to think. I think we'll start with Sacramento because this was a really weird year for them. They've been eliminated. Coaching change midseason, big roster overhaul midseason. DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine adding to their play-in resume, along with Jonas Valanciunas adding to his play-in resume. I think he leads the play-in history in rebounds and scoring. So shout out to Jonas Valanciunas. They ultimately didn't just I didn't watch too much of this game, to say the least. Like Dallas was kicking their ass. What do you have to start with on Sacramento? You're muted.
Sabonis only had 11 points. I think that was extremely big in this win for them. They really got nothing going that whole time. Lively, Gafford, and Davis were all locked down on him. I mean, they only lost by 14. I think that's a bonus. If he had a good game, that maybe could change things. Malik Monk being out really hurt them. And honestly, having no point guard really hurt them in this one. Uh, Crazy to think that they've had two all-star point guards throughout their history, throughout the past like 5 years with Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox, and they traded both of them away. Uh, yeah, this isn't. I mean, DeRozan had a good game, 33 points. LaVine had 20 points, shooting 40% from three. So those two players played really well. I just don't know about. I mean, I think Malik Monk is going to be really good for this Kings team, but yeah, I think they just need a point guard really to tie everything together. They already have the wings with with Levine, DeRozan, Murray. They have the center with Sabonis. They have like the shooting guard with Monk, and he can play the point guard as well. I mean, you talked about maybe even using DeRozan as a point forward. In the past, I just don't know if they'll ever do that. uh, but yeah, it was really disappointing from the Kings. Really, really disappointing. Yeah, and the Mavs, like you said, kicked their ass with a redemption game from Klay Thompson.
Big stuff from Clay right there. I would say this Sacramento, right? So weird. I don't think we'll ever figure out exactly what happened in the De'Aaron Fox situation. It seemed like it was a Mike Brown thing, but then after Mike Brown gets fired, like De'Aaron Fox still wants out, so I don't really think it was a Mike Brown thing. If we just want to talk about it, like Mike Brown wanted to bench DeMar DeRozan and start Keon Ellis. And once Mike Brown's fired and they reshape the roster, you know, they still have Levine there, but their best lineups were with Keon Ellis on the floor, and it's just he never got a chance to start until this play-in game, where they didn't have enough, to say the least. And I would say I don't know what this offseason looks like. Obviously, they're gonna get a head coach. I think that greatly depends on what the rest of this roster looks like. Like, I just don't know what to make of this Sacramento Kings season. I don't really think they were a good team at the end of the year. I think this is a team that fooled both of us. I know I for sure had them as a pretty good West playoff team. I think you did as well. They fooled us. We thought they were going to be great offensively. They were not. Sucks to say. DeMar DeRozan, I hear all this talk about what's it called? Ethical hoopers. DeMar DeRozan is the like definition of an ethical hooper. Doesn't shoot threes. Never foul baits. Like if DeMar DeRozan foul baits, he would lead the league in free throw attempts a game. Like, Jesus, dude, just move your body a little bit towards the jumping defender because they jump every time. He doesn't do it. Like, a little bit of proof that ethical hooper talk is stupid and doesn't mean anything. But anyway, like, Levine and DeRozan always ending up in the play-in game. Will that be a different conversation next season? We'll talk about it. Do we think that there's any big moves that they're going to make? Because I'm seeing a lot of stuff about potentially like Sabonis being on the way out.
Man, I don't know. I don't see them trading Levine or DeRozan. I don't think they do that. And I don't know. I think it'd be crazy to give up Sabonis unless you get something really, really good. I think it'd be crazy to give up Sabonis considering what you gave up to get him in Tyrese Halliburton. And maybe was it some picks? I don't remember the original trade, but
I think it was pretty straight up.
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, but still, I don't know. That'd be. I think you go get a point guard in this draft class. You get the new coach, and then you rock out one more year with these boys. And if not, then you have to blow it up. Because I mean, this team was so good 2 years ago, and then they had a down year, and then we're like, oh, they're gonna bounce back, and now it's another down year. So I mean, you could be stuck in that loop of saying, oh, we're gonna keep it together. We're so close, but I don't know. I think one more year isn't that crazy to let it go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you got to kind of get a great return for Sabonis, in my opinion, if you're trading him. But I think they could is the key. Restructuring the roster, like you said, they need a point guard. I mean, if they are to trade somebody, like, hey, like maybe Sabonis goes to New Orleans for DeJounte Murray, recovering from the Achilles injury, you could probably get picks in return as well. Like, I don't know. Just throwing something out there. Dallas, do we think they're going to beat Memphis?
I just don't see it happening after the game that the Grizzlies had against the Warriors. and they just killed them not too long ago. I just don't. I just think that this Grizzlies team is too good, and like this is a team that was literally like a month ago, not even a third seed in the West. They're not going to end their seat. They're not going to not make the playoffs, like especially to a Mavs team. Uh, and I don't know. Is Klay Thompson really going to give you 23 again? Off of 5 for 7 from three. And if you've seen the threes he's been making in this highlight clip, it has been like vintage Klay Thompson damn near. So is he going to give you that again? I don't know. Are you going to get 17 from by what's his name? B. Williams? What's his first name? Brandon. Yeah. Is Brandon Williams going to give you 3 threes again and 17 points? I just don't really see that. I think this Memphis team is just so good. I just don't know. I think the Grizzlies are gonna. I just cannot see this Grizzlies team not make the playoffs. Like after covering them all year, for them not make the playoffs would be like I think insane.
Yeah, I think their defense is just way better than Sacramento. Sacramento just has a pretty shit defense, and I think Grizzlies, like Jaren's gonna finish top 3 in defensive player, and then they're huge. The Kings, I don't know who you would call their power forward, but it's either DeRozan or Keegan Murray. Like I don't know if that's gonna be enough to slow down Jaren Jackson Jr. Like, yeah, I don't see Dallas winning necessarily. They could, but I think Memphis will still win, especially how well they played against Golden State. I think that was big for them. I don't. They kind of needed to win that game to do anything in the playoffs, in my opinion. But I think it gives them good momentum going into next year. They can at least say like, hey, if a couple things go our way next year, like we're the 4 seed. Yeah, I mean, unless you have anything else on Dallas or Sacramento, we can talk a little bit more about playoff series if there's any that are on your mind necessarily.
I don't think I have anything else to say really. I think that the Bucks Pacers series got a lot more interesting with the news of Damian Lillard. He cleared something, and now it's looking real probable like he might be able to play in this playoff series, which I think makes things a lot different and could actually maybe swing things in the Bucks' favor a little bit. Especially with the way Bobby Portis has been talking. I think Bobby Portis is a player to watch in this playoffs, too.
Yeah, I mean, Dame is obviously a huge game changer. Like, nobody would say that Dame isn't. I'll say this, I've held the opinion for a while that Indiana's just significantly better than Milwaukee, even with Dame healthy, even before Dame was healthy. Crazy blood clot recovery. Like, Wemby's been out since January. Obviously, like, they're not all the same injury, right? But like I think the Bucks medical staff was like, this is the quickest blood recovery like ever. And shout out to Damian Lillard, like good for him, dude. He's not playing game 1, but he'll be back soon in the series. We'll ultimately see. I would imagine it's their first home game, so I'd imagine game 3 he would start playing and traveling with the team. Hey, if he's ready to go, like that's huge for them, and it gives them a real fighting chance. I've just done a little bit more thinking about a couple series. One is closer to home; it's Knicks Pistons, and then the other one is Minnesota Lakers. I don't know. I've seen a lot more opinions saying that Minnesota like will probably be the most likely upset, and I just out of all the teams, like Minnesota's the one I'm most worried about. I think I've mentioned it. Like I think a lot of their best lineups don't include the majority of their starting lineup. Like a lot of it's like, hey, we need shooting out there. So DiVincenzo and Naz Reid. There we go. DiVincenzo and Naz Reid need to be out there, and then Anthony Edwards is then your best passer on the floor, and sometimes it's like, okay, well, we need to have the best offensive lineup out there possible, and then Gobert's out there and your defense isn't very good. Um, it's just really weird for me. I'm still really concerned. I don't think anybody in their team is really a good passer. And if we're going to look at how the Lakers are going to beat them, they're not going to beat them by sitting Anthony Davis and drop coverage anymore because Anthony Davis isn't on the team. That's not how the Lakers play now. They're going to swarm you and make you make the right decisions now because that's how they played against Denver, and it's worked against Denver when Denver was killing people offensively. And I'm not sure if I believe in, especially Julius Randle, but Anthony Edwards as well, like making the right decision all the time. And then even if he makes the right skip pass, like this series is probably going to be decided by how well does Jaden McDaniels shoot corner threes. And not something I'm really willing to bet on for Minnesota here. I mean, do you have anything else to comment on that standpoint?
Yeah, it's gonna be a tough challenge for sure, especially when you're going against Luka and LeBron. Especially the way that Austin Reeves has been playing, and Rui Hachimura has also been playing a really good supporting cast this year. I think, especially ever since Luka stepped in. I mean, I want to take the Timberwolves so bad because I think Ant is just going to play lights out, and especially at home, they'll be able to win some games. And I think Nas Reed is a better center than Jackson Hayes. Off,
Yes.
so I mean, I think their best bet might need to be starting, or not starting, but playing Nas Reed a lot more minutes at the center position. Maybe when Jackson Hayes is out there, because I don't know, maybe he can actually, with his ability to stretch the floor, he could maybe do some work on Jackson Hayes. Gobert obviously is very limited offensively. But yeah, this team is just the Lakers team is just really good. It's going to be really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard, yeah.
We've seen in the past too that difficult shot makers like often neutralize these big rim guys,
Yeah.
right? It's not just Gobert. Like Anthony Davis against the Nuggets, like the crazy shot making, like it kind of does away with the fact that like a lot of the times, you're not gonna ever get good looks at the rim, or you're gonna play good defense, but then Jokic is gonna make the most ridiculous shot ever. Luka Doncic will do a ton of that. I'm really concerned about Mike Conley in the series. Um, I think the Timberwolves kind of have to play him because he's going to keep their offense moving. But I'm really concerned. Like when Mike Conley's out there, is LeBron not going to call Conley's man into the screen action literally every play to try to attack Conley? Same thing with Luka. Or let's say you put, you know, Conley on Rui Hachimura or Austin Reeves. Like I feel like they were perfectly fine attacking Mike Conley in those type of situations too. I don't know. I'm concerned about Mike Conley. I think this is a Lakers win. It's just how I feel about it.
Yeah.
Knicks Pistons, I think, is interesting. I do think the sentiment around this is being overthought a little bit. I think the Pistons, not starting lineup, but like one of the lineup of 6 of their 7 best players is like the second worst defensive team in the league, or lineup in the league, with like Cade, Hardaway, Beasley, Duran, and Harris. Like I think I'm pretty sure that lineup has like a 120 defensive rating. I'll go ahead and get confirmation on that. But I think Detroit can do a lot of interesting things defensively. As I say that, take like not talking fondly of their defense. Like in a situation where like we talked about the Giddey thing where they stuck a center on Giddey. Like you can kind of do that with Josh Hart. Um and it can somewhat work, but with them too, like if they want to just switch every Towns Brunson pick and roll, then they can put Tobias Harris on Karl Anthony Towns. Like, and I think they can get away with that, and they can just switch Asar Thompson and Tobias Harris on literally every pick and roll. Now, in that situation, what probably ends up happening is Josh Hart goes up to set screens because the Knicks do that all the time. Maybe. And on the defensive side of the floor, defending Cade, Knicks haven't done great at that this regular season, but they also have barely thrown OG Anunoby at him, just because of how often OG Anunoby was the only rim protector early in the season. So I don't know. I still hold some hope. And for confirmation, Cade, Duran, Beasley, Hardaway, and Harris has a 125 defensive rating. So I still feel pretty strongly about Knicks here. I do understand the hesitancy. I've also been seeing a lot of Cade Cunningham narratives that I don't agree with, being the the original Cade Cunningham enjoyer. Like, I put him on my top 50 list going into the year. I think NBA put him at like 70. But I've been seeing like top 10 Cade conversations. I'm like, yo, like he's not quite there yet. But I think this will be a great series. I don't have too many other thoughts on this series. You got anything else on any other series?
No, not really. I think we talked about everything really. I think maybe the Pistons steal one at home, but I think I genuinely agree with you. Yeah, this is gonna be a really fun playoffs. Just looking at these matchups, I think every series, but like the 1 and 2 matchups in the East and the one matchup in the West are just really good basketball games. Will be being played.
I'll say this: I think the Pistons will win more than 2 games, or they'll win 2 or plus games in the series.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that,
Do you think they steal one at MSG? I don't. Man, I just don't see that happening. I could see them winning at Detroit just because like the whole city is going to be popped out for that game.
and
Like,
they shut off tickets to only Pistons fans too.
yeah, so that is going to be crazy.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be good. I think it's gonna be a great series. I think all of the first round series except maybe the 1 seeds and then I think the 2 seed. I think there's gonna be things to watch for in the Boston versus Magic series. I don't think it's necessarily gonna be a close series, but there's gonna be things to watch for.
Maybe some flaws get pointed out.
Yeah, like if Orlando is relentlessly attacking Porzingis and having a ton of success with it, then maybe there's some things to look out for. But that's just a hypothetical. We don't know that's necessarily going to happen. We have playoff matchups, like the series themselves. I'm trying to pull it up right now. So game 1 is at 1:00. It's the Bucks versus the Pacers, then Nuggets versus Clippers at 3:30, Pistons versus Knicks at 6, and Lakers Timberwolves at night. Hey, we think those are going to be 4 of the best series in the first round. So really excited. Great basketball happening.
I think Giannis goes for 40 in 2 games this series.
Easily. I would take that bet.
Giannis goes for 42 games this series.
All right.
And we see yeah.
Do we think Hallie's going to pop a 20 assist game?
20 assists. Damn.
Because
I can't. Nah, I can't say it. I don't think so.
I'm very confident this is going to be the highest scoring series in the first round.
Yeah.
Um,
the total isn't even that. I mean, 224. It's not that crazy. That's actually pretty high.
That is pretty high. Yeah, I'm very confident that this is going to be the highest scoring series in the first round.
Yeah.
Unless the Clippers offense just goes into a new gear that I wouldn't be aware of before. Yeah. That should basically wrap up this episode. Next week's episode, I guess we'll do what's next for whichever 2 play. I mean, I guess we kind of did it today, but we might solidify some things that we want to make clear of. If there if there are any significant takeaways that we have from the first week of playoff games, then we'll talk about those next week. And yeah, I think we're gonna have some other fun things filtering in just to fill a couple times because we're not gonna have enough. In some situations, we're not gonna have enough for a full podcast episode. So maybe we have a couple like quick little drafts in there to fill in some time. That'll at least be fun to talk about, and it'll hopefully spark some conversation. So that does it for this episode. We will see you guys next week.